At this moment, all I see is darkness. Soon I see a bright light shining upon a single violinist. She gently laid the wooden instrument in between her jaw and shoulder. I see her arm rise up and I see the bow in her gentle hand glide across the metal string. I see it, but I can't hear anything. All of a sudden, I feel a cold hand touch my shoulder. I open my eyes, and the first thing I see is a wrinkled old hand waving at my face. The woman who was connected to that hand kept contorting her hands in an effort to communicate with me, but I was not focused on her. I made my hand into a fist and brought it to my heart and made a circle around my chest while mouthing the word sorry out of habit. I felt a lump in my throat and ran to the bathroom, feeling drips of sadness fall down my face. Hi, I'm Natalie, and I have alabaster skin with hair as dark as silence. When my hair is wet, it is small and limp. When it dries, it twists and turns and starts to look like this pasta that my mom makes. Everybody used to like me in my town, and I fit in. I used to walk down the street and see all these big houses that looked like famous actors should live inside. They all basically looked the same, and the families who lived inside looked all the same too. I never used to be reserved, but ever since the accident, I just chose to keep to myself. I used to be this peppy 17-year-old girl who loved to party and have fun with my friends, and perform. Oh, how I loved to perform. What a rush it gave me, you know? Well, can't do that anymore. For me, singing was a way of expressing myself. I used to be a sad child, but my mom just told me to start singing whenever I was sad and I would feel better. Well, she was right, and it worked like a charm. And all of a sudden, I see that the period-ending lights were flashing. I went to the corner of the room and slowly crept down the wall until my legs were touching the floor. I shut my eyes and I was safe once again. I couldn't hear and I was surrounded by darkness. My safe place was the dark. I don't know if I fell asleep or what, but I went back to that night. It was a normal day at school. I had just finished my performance for a fundraiser during lunch. I had sang If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys. It was really weird. During the fundraiser, this one kid had a nervous breakdown and started screaming that he was going to get back for what we did to him. I had no idea what he was talking about. Anyways, my friend Ash and I, short for Ashley, decided to skip 4th period and walk around the school. Ash decided to ditch me and go off into the stairwells to hang out with her boyfriend, so I just decided to walk around. I was walking down the hallway with a little pep in my step, still humming to the melody to the song I had just sang. I see a familiar face in the hallway. It was my friend Doug. Secretly, I had always had a crush on him, for he was a football player and everybody loved him. His eyes met mine and I gave him a little smile and just kept walking down the hallway. The last thing I remember hearing was my boots clanking on the hard floor of the hallway. And after that, it was just white noise for a couple of seconds, and then nothing. I had been thrown from the blast just a couple of feet. Only a couple of bruises, but after that, I couldn't hear the sound of my boots clanking against the hallway anymore. I felt my mouth move, but could hear no words. I brought my hands in front of my face and quickly slapped them together. Nothing but the stinging in my fingers from the force of the clap. I tried to sing an A sharp. Again, nothing. Now, this can't be real, I kept thinking. This is all a dream. But I looked behind me while I was still on the ground and see the corners of the building was blown off. And not only that, I see dead bodies all on the ground. Most of which who I couldn't recognize. But I could recognize one. It was Doug. He was walking in the direction of the explosion while I was walking away from it, which explains why he had such horrible burns to his body while I had only lost my hearing. All I remember after seeing his burned body was waking up in the hospital and someone telling me that I had lost my hearing due to an explosion. They had told me by using a dry erase board with a green marker. Apparently the kid who had the nervous breakdown during the fundraiser had planted a bomb in the school and he was killed along with the blast. 1 month after the explosion, I had returned to school, but things weren't the same anymore. My so-called friends didn't know what to do with me anymore. I had to come to school with a translator, and for the past month have been in extensive ASL classes learning how to speak with my hands. With this translator with me, people would look at me funny. It was like they were looking at a stranger. No one looked at me like they had known me since pre-K anymore. Well, that's Timus. You can be old news in the blink of an eye. And that's how stuck-up the people in this town were. I had been that person once, a stuck-up, rich girl who just thought she could beat the world. And you know the worst part of it? I had to resign from the musical. I was the lead in Cinderella, and I had to give it up because obviously I couldn't perform anymore. And I guess I could join a sports team like swimming or something like that, something that doesn't require me to hear anything. But I don't know yet. The only thing I was ever good at was performing. You know, the whole public school thing wasn't working for me anymore. It was way too hard to follow the lesson and try to understand what my translator was saying. So my mom just decided to enroll me in Carleton, the school for the deaf. And there was this one class that I signed up for, just out of curiosity. It was art class. And I had never really taken a class like that before, so I thought, what the hell? I just get really frustrated sometimes because everyone around me could paint and draw, so much better than me. One day this boy came up to me. His name was Emmett, the star pupil of the class. And he noticed that I was struggling with my painting, so he came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, letting me know he was there, and signed, "Want me to help?" I nodded my head in approval. "Close your eyes," he said. "It's the only time of peace that we have. Just close your eyes and keep them shut until you see something. Once you see it, open your eyes and paint it. Whatever is in your heart will show up on that canvas." So I did just that. I closed my eyes, and again it was like the world around me didn't exist. No noises distracted me, and all I could see was darkness. And then all of a sudden, the woman violinist began to appear, along with the whole orchestra. Violinists, cellists, violists, the conductor, and a woman in a very slimming blue memory dress with sparkles all over. She opened her mouth, and I could hear it again. I could hear the beautiful sound that I had once known. Of course, it was all in my head. The sounds I had once known were coming back to me. I opened my eyes and began to paint the woman along with the whole orchestra. I could do nothing but smile as I gently glided my paintbrush along the white canvas before me. As I was painting, Emmett's hand continued to lay on my shoulder and watched as I created what I saw in my head. Emmett knew that I could hear before I came here, and he signed to me if I was painting what I could hear. I made a fist with my hand and nodded it up and down, indicating the word yes. His hands had paused for a moment, and then he signed, "What is it like? You know, music." "It's magical."
In the dark.